It's time for the main event of the evening. Unified heavyweight champion of the world and the current lineal heavyweight champion of the world, known as the Gypsy King, the undefeated Tyson Fury.
And across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner,
the fighting pride of Brixton, London, England, Dillian, the body snatcher, Whyte.
Welcome back to Boxing on the Edge. I hope everyone's doing okay. This coming Saturday we have a tremendous heavyweight showdown. The return of Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King. He will take on Dillian Whyte, the body snatcher, for Tyson Fury's WBC World Heavyweight title. Fight is in London. It is at the Wembley Arena. 94,000 people will be in attendance. Let's discuss.
boxing.
Okay, so yes, this coming Saturday, fantastic heavyweight fight. Welcome aboard if you're new here. What we do on this channel, we talk about the fighters, we talk about their trainers. I'll give a fairly detailed fight breakdown at the end of the video. I'll throw a prediction in there. And I've got a new section called the Hurt Zone where I'll highlight when fighters were hurt, what punches were they hurt by, and how can it play into their opponent's hands and how can they capitalize on that. I'll show some video footage as well, and we'll just talk about some possible scenarios about those punches coming into play. So I will leave timestamps for all these different sections so you can skip to each part. And if you're thinking about subscribing, I've left a trailer at the end of this video so you can see more about this channel. Anyway, let's get into the fighters. Okay, only one place to start really. Let's start with Tyson Fury, the WBC World Heavyweight Champion, Lineal Champion, Ring Magazine Champion. You know, he really has warmed to the American market out here. He's got the perfect style, perfect charisma, and perfect energy with his braggadocious, razzmatazz, you know, eccentric style. And it's nice to see him back in the UK for his homecoming on British soil at Wembley in a massive fight. He has obviously come off two excellent performances against Deontay Wilder, especially the second one. And, you know, he had a good performance in the third one. He didn't seem as dialed in for the third one. Didn't seem as mentally, like, sharp or strong. And just, you know, obviously there's something to say. He trains hard, you know, there's no two ways about that. It's just like he must have really went for it in that second one. And not to say he didn't train hard in the third, but you could see from his demeanor and his body type, still put in a courageous performance. Got off the deck twice, took some hard shots. Just a great performance, you know, against one of the biggest punchers we've ever seen. Fantastic stuff, you know, really truly a wonder to boxing, Tyson Fury is. And he's trained by Sugar Hill, who's a fantastic trainer as well. And he could be, you know, part of the difference too when you get to the top level and this world level, and you've been there and done it, and you got the t-shirt, so to speak. You know, you've delivered the in-fight instructions during the fight. You've come up with the game plan. The Crunk Gym style, as we know, is coming for you to take your head off or take you out. Using your size advantages as well is a big part of their philosophy. So it's obviously, you know, when Fury's as tall and big as he is, it makes a lot of sense to do that, and that's smart of Fury to seek that out. And they make a great team. You know, there's some chemistry there, and I always talk about bonds with fighters and trainers, and I think that's really important, and these two guys have a good bond. So it will be fascinating to see what kind of game plan they come up for this fight, and I will talk about that in the fight breakdown. I'll leave timestamps, as I said earlier, but very intriguing stuff. Is he going to keep doing the Crunk style, or is he going to box off the back foot, or is he going to do a bit of both? Well, he's got me at a bit of a puzzle, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, great combination, fantastic trainer, fantastic fighter, and that's when you get, you know, greatness. So let's move on to Dillian Whyte. Obviously, listen, he has had it hard in life. His life stories are absolutely unbelievable when you listen to them. You know, just his hardship growing up in Jamaica and then moving out to the UK with basically nothing. Fought up through the hard way, had the hardest path in boxing, has been swerved and avoided and, you know, put on the back burner, and like just for hundreds of days. It's just absolutely ridiculous at this point. But he's got his chance. The opportunity is here. And, you know, he's going to grab it with both hands. There's no two ways about that. He's going to be fully prepared. That Zoom press conference they did, he looked really happy. A happy fighter is a dangerous fighter. He looked like he was healthy, in good shape. His face looked slim. He looked like he's lost some good weight, and he looks like he's going to put in a great performance. And I honestly cannot wait for this fight. Very, very intriguing. You know, Dillian, lots been said about the no-shows at the press conferences and stuff. I don't want to keep rehashing old conversations, but I'll say this. I think it's to work in his favor to not be face-to-face with Tyson Fury, to be doing the mental arithmetics with him, because he's a master at it. You know, he's a wizard in the ring. He's a wizard out of the ring. And, you know, the fight starts out of the ring. And at the moment, you'd have to say it's on even ground if you can't give Fury the opportunity to get a leg up. You'd have to take that. So whether he shows up in the next press conference, I don't know. Hopefully he does for our sake. But if he doesn't have to and he's not obliged to, why would you? So yeah, I wish him the best of luck. And we know what we're going to get. You know, he's made it absolute pay-per-view star name for himself, and he deserves to be up there. And, you know, credit to him. And he's trained by XAVIER Miller, who I didn't know too much about prior to Dillian Whyte linking up with him. But I've been watching a couple of interviews, and he seems like he really has some boxing knowledge. He's been around the game a long time. He has his own gyms in the past. He's got a couple of good fighters in his stable. He speaks well. And, you know, he's going to have to summon up all his experience in this, because when you're fighting at the top level, the trainers have a responsibility there, you know, whether it's like a small percent, 2%, 5%, that matters at this level. And, you know, he's obviously going to be at a disadvantage because he hasn't been at this level. So you don't know until you get there. What are the in-fight strategies? Does he have a plan D and C? C and D even. So I mean, you know, we're not going to know until it actually happens, because you only have a few minutes to get some concise instructions to your fighters. And, you know, they're going to have to definitely have some serious in-fight game plan tactics against Tyson Fury, because he's the type of fighter that can make adjustments in fight by himself, as he has done in the past. Very intelligent, as we know this. So, you know, well, XAVIER Miller is going to need to be there for Whyte to match these, you know, in-fight adjustments that Fury might make, or probably will make. So that'll be interesting to keep an eye out on that. And, you know, I'll be very curious to see the battle of the trainers. Anyway, moving on to the new segment here, the Hurt Zone. Where I talk about, you know, what punches hurt these fighters in the past. Why did they make those mistakes? What caused that? Can it be capitalized on again? And I'm going to show some video footage right now. Okay, so Dillian Whyte obviously has been hurt several times in fights, badly hurt. Out on his feet, he's been knocked out twice, knocked out cold against Povetkin, stopped against AJ. Obviously, we know the uppercut is one of Dillian Whyte's kryptonite punches, okay? He does, usually the uppercut gets landed on the inside against Whyte, okay, and he, you know, tends to either, well, he switched off a little bit against Povetkin. You can make one small error in boxing and then you can be, your career can take, you know, what can be done, but it can take a backward step for sure, depending on the fighter. When I say can be done, you know, people can't react to the way Dillian Whyte has after getting knocked out to Povetkin, and that just shows you exactly how amazing this guy is. That was a brutal knockout. But there is something there with these uppercuts. You know, obviously he likes to fight on the inside. He's a good inside fighter. He lets his hands go in there. He throws the combinations. But he does get clipped with those uppercuts. And the uppercuts are a hard punch to see, you know, because it comes from, you know, a little bit lower. So it's not necessarily in your trajectory, but part of the reason I think sometimes is like Whyte gets so energized to like throw these bombs that like I think he's only thinking about shooting his power shots, and you know his defense gets a little lax. And then, you know, if he's up close, he's always up close for an uppercut as well. And that's when the damage gets done. Although, you know, he can land his own shots too, but the uppercut is something to look out for. And actually, speaking of uppercuts, Tyson Fury has a decent uppercut as well for a big guy on the inside and on the outside. Against Tom Schwartz, he was southpaw, and I'm going to get into that in our fight breakdown, but he was southpaw. He was landing those long uppercuts where he can use his right hand as a decoy shot and then come from afar and loop that uppercut in. I think that's something to look out for. Obviously, it's a different punch to the uppercut on the inside, so maybe Whyte will be able to see it and deal with it better, but it's an uppercut nonetheless. And Fury has done some damage on the inside because he's very tricky and he's very crafty with his, you know, dark arts essentially, and he could befuddle Whyte with that and get some shots off on the inside. But the uppercut is obviously something to look out for. Something else to look out for is when Fury fiddles around and drops his hands and he's in that mid-range. You know, he got caught by Wilder, got dropped twice, and then, well, actually 3 times, or maybe even 4 times. I've got to look at the tape again, but what Wilder does that I don't think Dillian Whyte can do is he releases his punch far quicker, and his footwork is far quicker. So when Fury is in that range, Wilder strikes, bang, shots are done. I don't think Whyte can do that. I could be proven wrong, but Wilder's feet are a little quicker and his punching technique is a little cleaner as well and a little sharper. That 1-2, and that was why Fury got clipped twice. And then he was fooling around in the first fight with his head movement. With his braggadocious style comes like arrogance, comes mistakes, and then you can get off balance and get dropped, and that's how he got dropped in the first fight. Just a little lackadaisical and, you know, a bit too cavalier. Now we know Fury's been dropped with that overhand right by Steve Cunningham. We know Dillian Whyte has a fairly wild overhand right, and shout out to Hatman on the cricket bowl reference. It's like Curtly Ambrose right hand, where he just loops it from so far away, telegraphs it way too much. Can he really land the same? No, probably not. Steve Cunningham's far quicker, far sharper, and you know, his technique's far better. So that's not something I would see Fury being too worried about with regards to how he got dropped in the past by that. We know Nevin Pikic dropped Tyson Fury as well. But I've got to look at the tape again to really be able to comment on that. But these are how these guys are getting dropped, you know. Another thing Dillian Whyte does that Fury can capitalize on, and he's been hurt and he got hurt badly against Joseph Parker, was when he throws the really high guard up, which he'll do to use his catch and shoot, which he did against AJ. But when he's not doing the catch and shoot, it can create opportunities for your opponent. Okay, for example, round the side. And with Fury being Fury, obviously he was coming around the side of the gloves against Wilder, or you can come through the middle too. And you know, Whyte got hurt quite badly. He was very tired at that point, to be fair. But you know, Fury with his decoy shots, and he uses his limbs and his IQ to absolute perfection. And I don't think Whyte's going to be ready for that, because there's a lot of tricks involved with what Fury does. But coming around the side and also leaving a lot of room underneath is certainly a disadvantage when you're having a high guard. So I think Fury can certainly capitalize on that. But moving on to the fight breakdown itself. Now, Fury is a master, okay? Because about a week and a half ago, I was convinced that he was going to come forward, put it on Whyte, Kronk style, put some front foot pressure, and you know, slowly back Whyte up, and maybe pour at Whyte, try and get him to bite on the catch and shoot a little bit, but going forward and letting those hands go with that 1-2, coming in, shutting the inside game down, leaning on him a little bit, and then doing basically what he did against Wilder. I was convinced, especially the second one. I was convinced. And then I started to see the weight come down, and you know, obviously Dillian Whyte's weight's come down too, and it certainly seems like Tyson Fury is not going to do that anymore. And now I'm almost convinced he's going to go southpaw. This is how great this guy is. I mean, like, he had everybody guessing in the second Wilder fight. Nobody thought he was going to do what he did. He came out and did it. And now it does seem like he's going to box, but we don't really know. Like, but I think he's going to go southpaw, and this is let me explain why. Because I think he offers himself a lot of advantages when he goes southpaw. Now, I think he's better at fighting orthodox, because he's been doing it longer, but he might have been just training in the gym fully southpaw. And Dillian Whyte, for that matter, hasn't fought southpaw since 2014. I forget the guy's name, I'll leave it up here. Not a very good fighter, as you can tell from his record. And that fight didn't go long. So if you're talking about how many rounds has Dillian Whyte had with the southpaw in the last 10 years, something to exploit there, you know, it really is. And like with southpaws, you know, if you see how Fury boxed Tom Schwartz, and I'm not comparing him with Whyte at all, but Fury's so long and rangy, you know, he can like use his limbs, like I said, use that decoy shot from the outside, come up through the middle with an uppercut, shoot that straight left hand, do a 1-2, loop the left hand over. He's got so much arsenal to do, and not to mention he takes away a lot of Whyte's best punches. Whyte's best punch is probably his left hook, we can agree on that. Well, that gets more complicated when you're fighting a southpaw, And if you are going to try to land your left hook, you need to really set it up with maybe like a 2-3. It's not really Whyte's game, stepping in and shooting a straight left and then hooking over. Dillian Whyte likes to telegraph his punches. Fury should be able to see that if he's got Whyte coming in trying to throw combinations on him, because Whyte can throw combinations, but when he's in the pocket, usually when his feet are set and when he can let his hands go. So the jab is a little bit more complicated against the southpaw, and Whyte does have a good jab. We know that it's a very stern, stiff jab, and he's got a good double jab, and he's going to have to use that to get in range. But are his feet quick enough? No. You know, his feet are like, fighting a southpaw is complicated, but when you're fighting a tall 6'9" slick world champion that's had, you know, absolute plethora of experience, this is another puzzle. And you know, Whyte's punches aren't the straightest. You got to be neat and tidy with your punches if you're fighting a southpaw. You know, you have to think overtime, and that's nothing to Tyson Fury, you know, but that could be more of a puzzle for Whyte. So you take away the left hook a little bit, you take away his jab, overhand right. I mean, it's not inconceivable against the southpaw, but you got to loop it around a little bit like Ugas does. But Whyte throws is more direct and it's more telegraphed. So I can see Tyson Fury coming out and boxing off the back foot southpaw. Not the whole fight, but I think he could switch hit, which will confuse Whyte even more. He might try to decide to step and put some front foot pressure on briefly, try and goad him in a little bit and get that catch and shoot, because Whyte likes to catch and shoot. He waits there, and with the catch and shoot, Whyte is excellent at it because he's got strong arms like this too, and he waits and he times, and he can take the shot and then come back with his own. But they're going to know this. Fury's camp's going to know this. And you know, if Fury tries to fight on the inside and push him back, if he does try to do that, he's playing in Whyte's hands. So it would be the wise move to just not do that at all. You know, Whyte's got slower feet. He's not as creative with his punches. His IQ's not as good. His height and reach, Fury's height and reach, are going to be utilized in spectacular fashion. I think it's going to be a virtuoso performance from Tyson Fury. I think he's going to, you know, really put a clinic on. I really do. I think he's going to put a great performance in. I think he's going to switch hit, maybe apply some pressure. Don't really see how Whyte wins this fight, to be honest. Obviously, he's got a puncher's chance. He's got to catch Fury. If he can get him up close with it, he's got a beautiful like double hook, some body work. We know, you know, Fury's, nobody likes it to the body. Let's be honest. But if Whyte can, you know, get in the trenches and get some work done there and let his hands go there, then obviously he's got a chance. But you know, Fury gets off the deck. You know, if he's a little lighter, Whyte's a little lighter, so is he going to be as powerful? You know, Whyte likes to step in with his jab and take a little shuffle step and then come in with the right hand. That might be something he can work on. You know, but again, Fury is a master at using his limbs, or using his limbs like as in his arms for like creating traffic. Okay, punching traffic, and he did that amazing against Wilder. And it's another little trick, and when you have that height and length, you can do it more. And I don't think Whyte will have ever encountered a fighter that can do it quite as well as Fury. So more to deal with. It's looking a bit bleak for Whyte, I'll be honest. I know there might be some Whyte fans on here. I'm a massive supporter of Dillian Whyte as a person and as a boxer. I think he's amazing, but I try to keep it like I've got passion, honesty and objectivity on this channel. That's the three things I really like to try to push forward. So I speak on these fighters objectively, and I think it's looking a bit bleak for Whyte. Which, look, there's no shame in that if he comes out second best against an absolute elite fighter like Tyson Fury. But I'd love to know your opinion on how you think Whyte's gonna win this, because I think Fury, moving on to a prediction, I think Fury is going to stop Dillian Whyte, but not till a little bit later on. I think mid to late rounds, he's going to, you know, befuddle and bamboozle and maybe get Whyte frustrated and have Whyte try and, you know, open up a little bit more. Those telegraph punches, Whyte's footwork is going to work against him. His IQ is going to work against him. It's not bad, you know, but Fury's, you know, Rubik's Cube, like mastermind. And when you're boxing that kind of, I mean, yeah, it's just a wizard. So I don't really know how Whyte wins this fight. I think it's going to be one-sided, and I think Fury's going to put on an absolute clinic, if I'm honest. And I think he's going to involve a little bit of southpaw and orthodox. And once he kind of has figured Whyte out a little bit, maybe he'll start backing him up and using his quicker feet to get in and out like he did against Wilder. Keep those limbs from moving and tie him up, lean on him, and maybe land some uppercuts on the inside if he can. And hey, listen, this could be a great fight, fascinating fight. I can't wait for this. I really can't, you know. I'd love to know your opinions though. You know, is Fury going to do that? Is he going to come forward? What weight's he going to come in at? Shoot it all in the comments section below. That's probably it from me. I can't wait to put this video out. I can't wait for the fight. And I shall see you guys very soon, alright? Take care of yourself. Boxing on the edge.